leadership. Jennifer, thank you so much for signing up for this. I am really excited for a conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me, Amber. I'm just also very excited to have this opportunity to talk to you today.
Yeah, so I definitely want to introduce you. I will say that for those of you who are just kind of new to the Facebook group and you're wondering like, what are these hot seats? What is Amber doing? Just the quick brief introduction to that. I got the idea late last year that I wanted to start doing these once a week, 30-minute hot seats with the people in our Leverage to Scale community. That means you can join me live just like this. It's every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for 30 minutes. And basically, Jennifer's going to put me in the hot seat today. And so she's going to ask me whatever she wants to ask me. And then I'm going to give her real-time coaching, advice, strategies, ideas, my best foot forward. And this opportunity is designed for Leverage to Scale members. And Leverage to Scale is my flagship product. It's a marketing product that teaches somebody on your team how to do all of your content marketing for you. Video marketing, editing, YouTube optimization, blogging and search engine optimization, social media, email marketing, metrics tracking. Imagine that you could hire an assistant on your team for 10 to 30 bucks an hour to do all of your marketing for you as if Amber, me, I were personally your assistant doing it for you with my 15 years of online marketing experience. So that is what Leverage to Scale is. This is our community. Every Tuesday, I'm going live with one of the members and some of the community members. And at the end of every month, we say, who wants to go next month? And luckily, my lucky stars, Jennifer Campbell said, I'll go. And this is very meaningful to me because Jennifer and I met years ago when she was starting her first online summit. And what I know about Jennifer is she doesn't half-ass anything, okay? So it's like she wanted the best of the best. She wanted to know how to crush this summit. She had beautiful new branding done. She attracted in some incredible speakers. And we worked together on some really advanced strategies that 99% of people out there don't do. She is willing to go the extra mile because she knows that's where the magic happens. And so fast forward, we've had this great relationship. She became a Leverage to Scale member, which really mattered to me. It meant a lot to me that she had that trust in me. And her VA has had a great experience with the program. So it's special to me. And I'm not going to ruin your news, Jennifer, that we talked about last week. If you want to share that, you can. But I'm just excited to spend this time with you. So I want to start by asking you to share a brief kind of context because I want to save the most time for your questions, whatever you want to share today. But give the people watching, like, who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? What do they need to know to get into this?
Right. Thanks so much for the intro, Amber.
Yeah.
And so I'm Jennifer Campbell. I'm based in the Netherlands. That's my home country. So that's why it's a little darker around me. Sun has already set here. And what's very important to know is that I work as an independent change manager. So this means that I help leaders implement change in their organizations, especially on the behavioral side. And I work in big corporations, usually global Fortune 500 companies. And in 2016, I decided to take my business online and also run summits because I just wanted to speak to a wider audience and bring them even more value than just working with one or two clients at a time. And so I'm known for those three things. I'm a change manager, I'm a summit host and organizer, and I love talking to leaders about their experiences with change and help them with what's called systems thinking based strategies. And thanks so much for showing my website.
It's like how beautiful she is. Gosh, it's like, I just
so many things have changed since we started working together. I've been looking at your websites as well, how you create them. And that was sort of input for my business as well.
Love it.
And Yeah, maybe something quick about my audiences before I start firing questions at you, Amber.
Yep.
So I have leaders in business. That's one. And two, I also have peers. So people who are also in the change business or who are systems thinkers and use these type of approaches to also help leaders so that we can all co-create healthier organizations to work in. And ever since that first summit, I just finished my fourth one. I
Cool.
made some changes. And I must say, just because of a couple of choices I made more revenue from this summit this year than the previous three combined. So
Boom.
I'm in sort of like shock still.
Good
And
for
part of that
you.
has to do with the pointers that you give me also, Amber, with the LTS and your way of thinking of doing business and how can you leverage all that you know in a way that that doesn't take up all your time as a business owner. And so that's why I'm so happy to be here in this conversation with you. And because I'm working towards my masterpiece, just like you with LTS and with serving business owners and authors. And so I'm preparing 2 programs for leaders and 1 for peers.
Great.
And that's what I wanted to discuss with you today. I hope that helps as an intro.
Yeah. And honestly, first of all, I love that you're using words like co-create, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that Jennifer is not just like me and my greatness, but she's like, how can we collaborate and create something magical together, right? Love that. Love the fact that you've done 4 summits and your last one made you more money than the first 3 combined.
Yeah.
And gosh, I feel like screaming right now because so many people do something once and give up. Or maybe they'll do it twice. And as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we're always like, but what's the next challenge? Or I got to start all over and reinvent the wheel and do something else. And we are literally wasting so much time, energy, creativity, and we are losing out on money by not taking what we've done and improving it and making it better and better and better. And now you have this model where imagine what's going to happen 3 summits from now if you choose to keep going. It's just great. And I love that you talked about leveraging your time, leveraging what you know, saving your time. It's great. So we have the leader program and the peers. And what question can I answer for you?
So where I find myself with these 2 groups, let me zoom into the peers first.
Okay.
Because I have a serious group of people who purchased my top tier tickets during the summit. And they just buried themselves into this highly condensed content. And I want to help them implement this. I want to help them unpack it all so that they can grow their businesses the way I've done with this content of helping leaders. And so I am looking for ways to launch this group coaching program because it's going to be a group coaching program. And so they're used to summits. They know how to process a lot of this information. But it's about the implementation. And so I was thinking, why don't I start somewhere in March and launch a group coaching program and guide them throughout the rest of the year by completely leveraging what they learned from the summit. And so that's my question to you. What is your take on launching group coaching programs, and what would be your best approach to do that?
And so let me get clear on something.
Mm-hmm.
Peers come in, they're learning, and is it that they're learning your methodology to be able to go out and use that concept or that framework with their own clientele? What's the end goal?
Yeah, so it's my beta for a certification program.
Okay.
because from all that knowledge and experience with the summit, but also my experience in change management, I created a framework last year.
Okay.
And that is the backbone of everything that I create now. So whether I talk to peers, whether I work with leaders, whether I create new content, more about that in a second, it all boils down to one big framework, one journey. And I want to guide my peers through this process because the summits were also set up that way. So all the summit sessions
Mhm.
coincide with the different steps in my framework.
But then they are taking your content or framework or the way you've changed their thinking to go serve their, okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, when I'm launching something that's more of a beta, I'm just really upfront and honest about it. Like, hey, I did that with Leverage to Scale almost 2 years ago. And I said, hey, this is new.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's new, you get an early adopter discount, right? And there's going to be a couple tweaks that I'm going to make as a result of your feedback. And, I know you're going to get results or whatever. So going into it, they have a level of like, oh, wow, I get to be on the ground floor of something really innovative. And what's
Yeah.
cool is this gives them a competitive advantage in the marketplace, even though I don't really like the word competition, but it's true. Um, so for me, I would say that some critical things to consider is number one, just having an open, honest dialogue with your peers about what you're wanting to accomplish and
Mm-hmm.
why. Because oftentimes we're so fast to say, here's what it is and what you're going to get out of it. But I think they need to know why this matters because it's that vision, it's that emotion that's going to wrap them in. Then as they get started, it almost feels like there should be a weekly framework to it where you are unpacking some content, but giving it room to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I think that it could be interesting to have a short little assessment at the end of each week to get into their mindset of what was helpful to them and were any disconnects. What would they want more of? What did they not find helpful? And week by week, having that knowledge is going to help you fine tune the content for your certification program.
Yeah.
I would say having some level of networking amongst the peers and accountability might be important.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that in your program, you literally pair people up, whether it's you do it and it's like matchmaking, or they can opt to, select somebody else in the group, but having an accountability partner to set up a 30-minute weekly call with as they go through your content will take some of the load off of you delivering the content and allow more co-creation and creativity to unfold, which is only going to benefit your certification program in the future too.
Yeah.
And just making sure that there's time for you all to come together for an open Q&A, I feel like is pretty important. But the promotion itself, it doesn't have to be some great big campaign like when you're launching your summit. Sometimes it might just be a short little video on what I'm thinking and the framework and why it matters. And then I send that as a personal invitation to a certain number of people. Maybe I want to max out at a certain number of participants because if I get too many, it might be ineffective for what I'm trying to accomplish in this beta.
Yeah.
And then once I'm all done, I would have a little bit of a breather to really debrief and repackage, and then boom, you're off to the races. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's everything that came to mind as you were talking about, the peer option.
Yeah, this is great feedback on things that I can do. What I hadn't thought of yet is the engagement part, pairing people,
Mhm.
being even clearer about the why, um, and also that I'm going to take their feedback into account like a real beta, and
Yes.
maybe not do a too big launch, but also maybe cap off the number of, I hadn't thought about how many people I want in the program yet. So
Feels like more than 20 would be just too much.
too much. Yeah, that's too
Yeah.
much.
And
Yeah.
maybe even 10 is not enough. It's somewhere between 10 and 20 in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, play with those things. But I feel like that is really powerful. Love the direction. I know we have other members in the community too that are launching certifications. We're even going to be launching a certification at some point this year too for virtual professionals. So
Mm-hmm.
such a great way to spread your impact with the world. So then you talked about your leaders. Is there something you're packaging something for leaders, I'm thinking?
Yeah, so I do have a program in place, a 3-month program and a 1-year program. And what I find difficult now that I brought my business online more is to do the online sales. And I have some ideas about lead generation. I've tried different things. But I find it really hard to get people on the phone somehow. And then also, because this is a group that's more used to offline services, actually, I'm not sure how to do the sales process. Do I close on the phone, or do I try to find a meeting offline and close offline? So that's something I'm still struggling with. That's a weak link in my process at the moment. So yeah, what would you recommend in terms of sales process for leaders in business?
One thing I'm going to recommend is when we're done here, at some point, go back and watch last week's hot seat with Dr. Erica Gray, because there are things that we touched on that I think absolutely can work with you too.
Okay.
Because there is a difference between the person who is searching online trying to get an idea of who could help these leaders, and then they're packaging up the information based on their research and then presenting that to the leaders. But the
Mm-hmm.
leaders aren't the ones that are typing like, how do I do blah 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 into
Yeah,
Google, right?
exactly.
So it's probably their assistant, let's say, or somebody in that organization that is typing, how do I do blah 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 in Google. That person's going to be watching your videos, reading your articles, etc. So there's value in that from their perspective, but they're maybe not likely to like engage with you on social media, right? That's not what their purpose is.
Yeah.
So then they might package the information, send it over to the leader might say, yeah, this Jennifer Campbell person, sure, let's, I'm interested. So then what's going to happen is that leader is likely going to quickly go to like LinkedIn, your website, look around a little bit, probably not engage in much content. And then if they like what they see, they might then initiate a conversation with you, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing for people that are working with leaders, executives, people higher up that aren't going to spend time absorbing your content, sometimes they feel in their marketing like it's not working. And, my social media isn't blowing up like, Taylor Swift. And so I guess it's not working for me. And it's like, well, you have a very different audience. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you shouldn't have the same goals or milestones as most people in your marketing. And it's also mentally challenging because we feel like, well, if it's not working, why am I spending so much time making these videos or whatever? But the executives, the leaders coming in, they need to see that you are doing those things on a consistent, regular basis as you are, because they need to know that you're serious, you're professional, that you know what you're talking about, and that you're willing to do the work when nobody else is, right?
Yeah.
So then that marketing is going to be enough for them to take the next step with you. Now, at this point, it gets a little gray, and you might just need to survey some of your prospects and just get a sense of what they really want from you. We know for a fact they want to save their time, right? We
Yeah.
know that much.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that they usually want to cut to the chase in a certain way. Like sometimes it just depends on the audience, because there are some leaders that are just that type of leader where they have to sit down over lunch and they have to sit and meet with you face to face, even if you don't talk about business at all. That's just one of their requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to make a decision as a business owner.
Yeah.
When people come to me with that requirement, I say, I'm really sorry, but my business is virtual based and I don't have the capacity to make that kind of a trip to have a lunch? Can we do a virtual call instead?
Yeah.
Knowing that I might just not get the sale. But I also know that if I don't get the sale over something that's silly, then it's probably just not a relationship that I should be engaged with anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
part of the reason I'm bringing this up is you might have to make some decisions on when you're willing to give or not. But
Mm-hmm.
knowing that if you have a system in place, like when somebody reaches out to have a call, you book the call and then send them this video that explains the process of working with you and your options. And after that, you're
Yeah.
willing to have a 30-minute discovery call. And if that 30-minute discovery call goes well, then you're open to having a coffee date or sending these emails or closing the deal in this way.
Yeah.
So this is something that in more time I could actually give you, we could work through together a process that's really optimized that
Mm.
makes the decision maker feel like you really were present. You spent the time. There was a lot of care, but it's actually more automated to save your time, right? So there
Yeah.
is a way to accomplish both. I've mastered that in my own business too. So I know for a fact it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so thanks for this onset. And I would really love to continue the conversation
We need to.
about that
We
at
can
some other
now, unless you have
point.
other questions. I want to serve you.
Well, actually, I do, and I'm looking at the clock because there's one more thing that you referred to earlier. Uh,
The
so,
secret.
so I'm just going to rewatch this about the leaders, and there's one more thing that I want to share, and that is that I'll be launching my book next year. I just started writing. I know that you started writing your book as
We're
well.
writing buddies. I love it.
So that's amazing. I just watched all the work that you do with Mike Michalowicz. And I just thought I need to approach you and ask you about my book launch and see if we can work together. But for now, my question is with the timeline, like I said, my framework is also my backbone for my book. So that's what
Yep.
I'm writing about, to serve both leaders and peers. And what I want to do is do like a pre-order during my next summit, which is going to be January 2021, and then launch it during a live summit, so a real live summit, in-person summit, somewhere around July or September 2021. So I'm going to spend all this time writing. And I know that from one of the previous hot seats I saw that you had together with AJ, how important it is to start the marketing really early. So I think I wrote like 10 lines for my book now. And I wanted to ask you, what could I possibly do at this stage of the book writing, knowing that that's the timeline? So I have like an 18-month window before book launch. What would you recommend that I do in terms of marketing at this point?
My mind was just like so much. This is so fun because it's happening real time. I'm experiencing this right now. Just this morning before the hot seat is my dedicated time to focus on my book. And even in that moment, literally 1 minute before you got on, I was like, oh, I got to do that. That's a great idea to start the marketing. So I'm going to share it with you. Wow. So many things just flooded in. For me, number one is I am thinking about the people I want to feature in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Because my book is going to be very stories based to address my methodology, this new way I want people to think.
Yeah.
And my writing partner, Katie, was like, oh, there's these people we should include in the book. And when I was looking at the list of names, I thought, gosh, it's hard for me because I like so many people. I want to feature everybody. That's just who I am, right? But strategically in the book, I need to be thinking about the people that I could have as promotional partners down the road, companies that might be sponsorships, but I'm also thinking about who has a reputation that is like my reputation matters a lot to me. And so many people have a bad reputation online, and I freaking refuse for that to be my company.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, like, who am I aligning myself with? Because once you write that book, man, I want this book to stand the test of time. I don't know about you and your book, right? So it's like making sure that I'm very careful about the companies and names that I mention in my book. And so that's one way to start thinking about the marketing of it right now.
Yeah.
Another thing that's coming up for me is that I really want to make sure that I am embedding in the content different ways that people can engage, right? So I have challenges. There's like a little call out box with a challenge that as the reader, I want you to, do this thing and then promote it on social media in this specific way. And I'm trying to think through in my mind, almost like a gamification of it,
Mhm.
so that if you
Yeah.
do certain challenges to help me market the book, then I'm going to, reinforce that by giving you more inclusion in the community, or I don't know yet. I'm still in the beginning of it, but I do know I want some element of engagement at every step throughout the book, but not in a pitchy way like some books, like, oh, you have to go to this opt-in link to get my super secret cool thing. And I'm not trying to knock that too much, because I'm sure I will have some element of that, but there's a way to do it where the reader doesn't feel pitched to all of the time. But this
Mhm.
is an important part of marketing. And this is what we're talking about in terms of writing the actual book and how the marketing goes into the writing of it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but the idea from this morning is I was thinking, I use Voxer, this app. It's like a walkie-talkie app, and I'm talking to
Mhm.
my writing partner when I get certain ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had this really great moment about what connection means to me, because my book is all about making personal connection. And so I was really exploring that this morning, and I'm telling her my opinions and my beliefs and why, and I'm going really deep into it. And at the end, I said, oh my gosh, if I ever say anything to you, or I write something to you, or I make you a video and you think, now this piece was awesome, I want you to timestamp it and send it to me. And I'm going to share that to my social media team. And then I'll instruct my social media team to disperse that as a way of documenting the journey and getting people involved early on. And then they can give me feedback on what I just said in that box. And
Yeah.
then I could be like, oh, that is an interesting point. Let me go back and rework that. So actually, I can get my audience involved in this process with me. Like, I want Jennifer Campbell to feel like she was right here next to me.
Yeah.
Painstaking moments where I had writer's block and brilliant moments of genius, she was right here with me. So don't
Right.
be afraid to allow people to join this journey with you, because it's only going to make your book better. It'll make the book launch better. Start word of mouth. And there's a lot of other things that can be done along the way too, with photos and videos and getting people involved and doing early challenges. And there's all kinds of cool things that can be happening, but maybe those are a few to get started with.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much for these. So it boils down to who do I want to connect to? Who do I want to be associated with in terms of branding, but also in terms of people and customers or clients, and how can they be involved in the journey both during the writing process and after the writing process? And
Yeah, I was 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss,
mhm.
um, I think is who it was that wrote, I think it was like 6 or 8 different mentions of, what is it, ClickBank, I think, in the book.
Yeah.
And ClickBank then in exchange came back at the end of the book, when he was getting started to launch, and said, wow, thank you for featuring us so many times. And then gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars, I believe, if memory is correct, in sponsorship money to help launch his book,
Wow.
because they have budgets for things like that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
just be thinking, like, especially with the caliber of people that you're connected with and you're speaking to. And I mean,
Mhm.
there are opportunities there. But I will tell you this, that it comes down to your core values, because there is an organization that in all ways, business wise, would be so amazing for me to feature in the book. but there's an integrity gap that we just slightly don't align with. And so no way, man, not in this book. It's
Okay.
not worth it ever. But that's
Yeah.
me. So just really, I mean, you're very good at knowing what's right for your path and what's not. So just stay
Mhm.
true to that. Have a
Yeah.
really powerful why behind this book, and know that you are on this journey one-on-one with the reader, one reader, and it is intimate and it is important. And so write the book for that person, and know that the marketing will resolve itself too. Because we're going to be working together. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we are going to be working together. And for now, Amber, thank you so much for being in the hot seat with me, and for all this just tremendous value in half an hour of talking together. And I hope it's valuable for everyone else who's watching also, because it's three very different streams for me in my business, and is all connected. And it's so great to have your take on everything. So thank you so much for great value today.
Gosh, I'd show up for you anytime, anywhere. This is fun for me. This feels good for me. So thank you. You asked some really great questions. For those of you watching live or the replay, it would really matter to both Jennifer and myself for you to make a comment below. First of all, say, Jennifer, good job today. Or Jennifer, I'd love to stay and, be a part of your book journey. You go, girl, whatever it is that you want to say. But also it would help me to know, like, what was an idea that you got or something you heard today, even if you've heard it before, that was a good reminder or a good idea or something that you want to take action with. If you document that in a comment, it makes it so much more likely that you'll remember it and take action on it and do something powerful with it. So comment below. And Jennifer, I look forward to our next conversation. And this replay will be up on the Leverage to Scale community, so you guys can watch it anytime that you want to. And I guess we'll conclude there.
Thank you so much, Amber. Looking forward, and thanks everyone for watching.
Bye.